Okay, we're going to look at a KWIKSET SC1 for the Schlage SmartKey. This is a commercial packaging. This is made for builders. So what do we got? Well, let's see. Oh, we got some long screws. These look like about maybe 3-inch sheetrock screws. We got some instructions. Oh, we got the SmartKey thing. Oh, look, we got a new little, it says SmartKey, a new little change doodad. That's kind of cute. Oh, here's some keys. Look, this is the new SC1. Can you see SC1? SC1. This is the KWIKSET new SmartKey. From the Schlage format, so it's in the Schlage format. Brand new item, just released in 2021. I think I got the first sample. Here's a deadbolt. You can change the back set 1 3/4, 2 3/4. Well, it looks like a pretty good throw, maybe almost a full inch. That's pretty good. Looks reasonable. Okay, we got the mounting screws, you know, to hold the lock body together. Oh, and we got a cup for a deep, looks like we had almost a full inch throw in there. And what else we got? Oh, I can get it out. It's stuck. Alright, we'll take the whole box apart. I wanted to show you this. This is a strike plate. Man, this thing is heavy duty. Must be, I don't know, maybe like, it's more than 16 gauge, maybe like 10 gauge. It's like pretty heavy steel, and that was made to use those really long sheetrock screws. So that's quite a vast improvement to use those long screws, and in 4 holes, because the strike is always the weak part of the lock. You just break it out of the frame, so now we can put it in with 4 screws all the way into the stud. That's really excellent. We got the you know, the old locked, unlocked thing here. Locked, unlocked. That's alright. And here's the big baby. Boy, this thing is really heavy. This is the smart cylinder KWIKSET SC1. Uh-oh, it's my phone. Stop. Stop it! We got, dang it, I'm going to have to cut that. Oh, sorry for the interruption there. So we got the, boy, this thing is pretty heavy. This, you know, this is beefy. And you got this interface, you know, if you want to put it on a 1.5 inch hole or a 2.5 inch hole. Oop, I'm not looking at the camera. This is pretty beefy, heavy duty. It's a nice little trim plate. And here's the SC1 cylinder. I don't know if we can see into the keyway or not, but we're going to look more into it. Clearly see KWIKSET. Alrighty. So we put all the other crap back in the box, get it away. We don't need to look at it. You've seen it. Let's take a look and pull the cylinder out. So we'll pull up, get this baby off of there. Take the cylinder out. Alright, it looks very conventional. Let's see if we can get the little clip off without struggling too much. Daddy's having a hard time. Okay. Really getting it. Ridiculous. Well, darn it, I shot the clip across the room as the usual thing happens. So we got the plug, the clip flew over somewhere. I'll get it in a little while. So we got the cylinder here. We could take the little ring off, and of course the tail piece, you know, fit in the clip, and it had the little groove in it so it can just rotate only so far to unlock and lock the deadbolt. Now I found to take this apart, see which way the keyway is here. If you put the key in and you turn it 180 degrees, then everything slips out really nicely. I think maybe I should go in a little tighter here. Oh boy, out of focus. So here's the key in here. See this piece here? This is the reset carriage. This thing can go back and forth. When this little black thing is down, it locks the reset carriage. Now if you observe inside the plug here, or in the Bible I guess I should call it, we're looking at the back side here. There's some channels in here that allow that, and see they're captured. It can only go so far, but it's a larger diameter. So what happens is when the plug is turned to the reset position, this black piece is allowed to float out, and then that unlocks this carriage assembly. I call it the reset carriage. It resets the key to your particular thing. And let me stop here for a minute. And I wanted to show you one thing. Notice the reset hole. Notice the reset hole is on the other side compared to the KWIKSET key. This one, to reset it, they want you to turn it 90 degrees this way. Take your little reset lever, put it in there. Of course I have the retaining clip off, and then you can slide the key out and you put in a different key. I got some different keys around here. Here's the key that I cut, key A. Whoop, dropped it. Put it in. Listen. Click. And now it's set to this key, which is essentially the same key as the other key. I just cut one the same because this is an SC1 blank, and I wanted it to, be on a Schlage blank just to make sure it would work. So we'll look at the plug a little more right now. Now I think you're aware sometimes in the SmartKey you can't get the plug out because of the little fingers here. The wafers stick up out of into these spaces, and you can push them down and then work the plug out of each slot. Or of course, obviously the easy way is you just have the original key, put it in there, all good. I know that this is the top, turn it 180, and then we could just pull the plug clean out. Now here's the critical part, the reset carriage. Watch what happens when I pull this off. Oh, now this is critical part. See these little wafers. Here's one. It's actually captured. It's like stuck in here. Well, I'll take the key out. See, they're all up here, but they're captured underneath. See this? I'm gonna have to change the focus here. Okay, I got it a little tighter here. If you notice this part here, this has got little like gear teeth on it. It's machined in there. It's actually hollow, or got a space underneath. These wafers can slip underneath that and lock into place. See, they're like being held there right now. If you put the key in, I think they will slide up and down. See, look at that. They're actually captured there. So I think now you see that there's little gear teeth on there. We're going to go in for a real tight shot on one of the wafers, and then you'll get a better idea. Okay, I got my laser pointer here. This is one of the little wafers. Notice this is the reset channel that allows the reset carriage to slide back and forth. But here's the critical part. See this? This is what gets locked in. I wanted to count how many of these over there are. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks to me like 12. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 positions where this could lock in. Let's we'll continue on here. Here's another shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 12. This is the notch for the sidebar. Even here again for the reset carriage. Let's look at another shot. And it's like A2. This is actually going to get captured in. I was expecting to see 10 grooves, but there's 12. Here's another shot of it. So here, oh, I see there's like 1, 2, looks like there's 3 notches here, 3 grooves that it locks in on. So yeah, so there's going to be, it has to have space on either side in order to get 10 positions, because that's what we got, 10 depths of cut. So we can put this cut here, I think was like all the way near the top. So it's, I think that was a cut 1 on the key. Okay, here's a great shot. You can see this slider, well, wafer is the actual correct name, is captured, locked in. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 grooves here. And so the wafer gets locked in underneath this thing in that slot there. So that's how this thing works. So that was kind of the big question. How can it really be accurately go 15 thousandths at a time? Because the old Kwikset with the little prong on the pin, it would fit in the various gates of the sidebar, the various slots, grooves. Not the sidebar, but the carriage wouldn't really work for this, because this has to be much more precise. So that's a pretty clear picture of how it actually works. And I think we can clearly see there's space underneath that. So this is quite a, you know, this is on the key pin. This thing is formed on the key pin. So we got actually 3 bars, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that would lock into the slider. Here's a good shot. We can see this one is sitting right on these grooves in the reset position. This one is above it, and you can see that it's locked in here. There's a couple of spaces there, and it just gets locked in. There must be some grooves on the underneath of that thing too, because we saw grooves on both sides of this thing. So it really locks it in tight. And you can see some false gates as well here on the side, on the wafer. This is where the sidebar would go in. So it looks like we got a big false gate here and here. And it looks like it would slip in pretty well here. So I think that's what I wanted to show there. And that was about it on that. Okay, after all those tight shots, you know, here's the plug. I want you to notice, see these little, projections along in here? I mean, that's what fits in these grooves along in here. These particular grooves, when this is aligned properly, it can slide back and forth. That's the reset position. Here's the sidebar. You can see it's biased inwards on the back side. But kind of the interesting thing is, if you put these wafers in and align them so that the sidebar gate, you know, the sidebar gate sits right in the sidebar, and it just sits right in there just perfectly. So you can just put all these together and they just stay right there. This is so much easier than the old one. Well, I'm having the hard time. Get in there, baby. Let's try this one. There. See, they just sit right down in there, and of course they're up a little bit because of the sidebar pressure. But then the cradle just slips right in. You put it in the back position and pop it in. Let me show you doing that. Okay, you guys can watch me screw this up. Now see, I've got all the wafers in here. They're all sitting in the little grooves on the sidebar and the cradle, sidebar cradle, reset cradle, and then they'll line up in here. But you know, so I'll take this. Well, I got to switch it around this way because I'm holding the plug that way. I'm going to turn this upside down, and I'm going to try to slip it in here. Screw it up, of course. You know, you guys can laugh while I'm doing this. Did we get it? Oh yeah, I think we got it. And of course the spring's a little off. Put the spring and get it back in the right position. And see, the reset cradle slips in and out. Perfect. And we can reset our key. Pull it back to the reset position. Put in our key. Let it go. Now we have it keyed to this lock. Take this plug, the Bible. Remember, we have to, the sidebar gate is here. It's a square gate, of course, because this is generation 3. This is generally the top of the plug. So we put it over 180 degrees, holding this thing in. A little slip it in, and then we go down to the top, which is right there, and we're all back together. Just that simple. Okay, what would a test be without some test keys to look at how well it works? So I got 5 keys that I cut here. They're all quite similar, just missing like one little cut here and there. Let's try them out. So what we do is we take the original key, put it in the reset position, take our little SmartKey thingy here, click it in, and then we can pull the key out. Let's just take a key here. We'll take a B key, put it in here. Now that resets the lock, so the B key works. And let's just try a C key. Well, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Well, we could try an E key. Oh, and that one works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a table next of various tryouts. Okay, for the keys I cut, these are 5 keys in addition to the original SC1 key that came with the KWIKSET box. And its bidding, you can see, is 17921. I measured that key, and it's actually 100% perfect. It's within a 0.5 of the actual specification, as close as I could measure. Key A was an identical key. I cut these on my HPC 1200 Blitz machine that I just calibrated, and everything was in 1,000th of an inch. So I just cut one on a Schlage blank with the same bow to make sure it worked. And I cut key B here, and you can see in chamber 2 I put a 6 instead of a 7, cut it to a 6th dip, which is a little shallower. And key C, I did it the other way around. I took another chamber, chamber 4, and I cut it a little bit deeper to number 3. Key D, I cut it somewhere between 6 and 7, and 6.5, about midway in between. It's 15 thousandths difference, so that's 7 or 8 thousandths step. And key E, I did it except in chamber 4, so it's a halfway between 2 and 3. So those are the keys. Now when you put one of those keys in, this is this line across the top here, the original SC1, that's this key. When you reset the lock to that key, then you try all these other keys to see if they work. So, yep, the original key works fine, so does key A works, but Key B doesn't work because it's different in only one depth of 15 thousandths in another chamber. Key C doesn't work either, which is pretty good. So we can tell 15 thousandths difference. Key D, it was kind of gritty, didn't like get it quite in the right spot, and key E worked. So if we set it to key A, well, then of course it should be the same results because it's the original SC1 key, because it's a direct copy. Well, it's not a copy, it's a code created original to the original spec. If we set it to key B, which has this one off, well, it worked with the original key. You tried the original key and it worked and it worked. It didn't work with key C, but like I said down here, fiddling can sometimes make it work. Just set B key and try C. Just set to the B key. And the D and the E key that were half a thousandth off, or half a step in between, both worked. If I set it to key C, here where this bitting was off by 1, still the originals worked, which was kind of funny. But key B, of course, didn't work, which was good. And I still had the same gritty result. If I set it to key D, these are the half-step keys. The original still worked. But the key C would not work, and a bit gritty. And if I set it to key E, this bitting here, halfway in between, between 2 and 3, on position 4, the originals still worked. They were off. And I put a note in here. And of course, this worked because it's a key E. It worked because it's, of course, key E. But I know that if you jiggle a key and you hold it high to get a number 6 lift, in this case here on key B, so I'm trying to make it or hold it down, then I can force key E to work. So I want to make sure it's set on a 6 instead of a 7. So if you set key E high, holding it high, then key E will work and not key C. So it's kind of the opposite thing. So what I realized is half-cut keys E and D can behave as one or the other when setting it, depending on with the slop and the keyway, whether you kind of hold it up high, try to lift it high when you reset the lock, or if you push it down so it sets low, then it'll set to the other pin. So it's kind of halfway in between. So it was all pretty good in this case. This wouldn't work, but not so good here where the original cuts would work in all these. So, all in all, it's actually reasonable. A lock that's worn out and stuff is not going to be any better than this. Okay, now that we've seen the various ways that the various keys work and don't work, I thought I'd mention that not only worn locks, but cheap, low tolerance locks, there's a lot of knockoffs out there. And those locks will still work with, even brand new, with one or more pins just set one space out of the correct operating key. You can still make those work, so this is not really any worse than those type locks. Now, although this is not a picking video, I thought about ways to pick this thing. I really haven't analyzed it fully yet. I'll leave that to someone else, or maybe I'll get to it, but I thought, well, maybe we can like force the use a special tool or a hammer and jam the carriage up, the reset carriage, and then just put any old key in it and lock it to the new thing. But that's not going to work because of also the wafers. Remember the wafers in the plug, they can stick up and down in the Bible. That's also going to help lock in the wafer carriage. So that's really not going to work. But there's also the clearance, trying to, there was the method of picking the old style KWIKSET Smart lock, Generation 3, by putting a shim around on the side and putting pressure on the sidebar. Then you could get feedback. But I've noticed that this plug has a lot tighter clearance, not just here, but within the Bible. So I don't think you can get a shim in on this particular lock. We'll see. I have to evaluate all that. So those are some final thoughts, and now I want to go on to a bonus feature, which is just a little thing I think you'll enjoy. Okay, this is a bonus feature. This is a different box. This just showed up in today. Oh, what does this say? Control key. I mean, all the parts are basically the same. I'm not going to show you all the deadbolt and everything, but we've got a different set of SC1 keys. SC1. And we have a different lock assembly. This is called, what is this thing called? It's called a key control deadbolt. It's got this little gear train on the back, but look at this. See, you got this thing here. Oh, you can slip it over and you got another key. It's kind of a cool feature. So, you know, it works with the standard KWIKSET SC1 keys, and it has this gear train to limit the rotation. But then we have the old control key here. Let's take out the control key. And the control key, it's also an SC1 blank. It's a different color, you'll notice. You can flip it around here, put it in here, and then you can work the lock. So this is made, this is like a box for builders. This is made for like apartment complexes or something like that, where the manager can get in. And so we, you know, with the SmartKey, you can't master key the lock. So this is KWIKSET's solution. So normally, if you don't know, you know, but they use the same blank. And on the KWIKSET SmartKey version, the KW1 version, the control key is a little bit a different keyway, so it wouldn't fit. But I guess here they're being cheap and just use the same keyway. So if you pull this piece off, yeah, you can see it's dual cylinder. So it's just a dual cylinder lock. I thought you would find that quite interesting. I mean, the cylinders, you know, this is a different finish than the other one, but it's the same thing, so it has the same benefits, attributes, and weaknesses. So that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed all this. Maybe it was a little too long, but let's see who can figure out how to pick the SC1 SmartKey.